They poured Coca-Cola on her in front of the entire office, not by accident, but on purpose, and with a laugh. Victoria Hale, a senior executive at Welton & Chase, humiliated Lena Carter, a quiet, brilliant black analyst, during what they thought was just another cruel joke. They mocked her education, her salary, even the neighborhood they assumed she came from. The office watched. Most stayed silent. But when they picked Lena, they didn't know who they were messing with. They didn't know Lena was married to Elliot Raines, the billionaire CEO who owned the company they worked for. What came next wasn't just justice. It was a reckoning that would cost them everything and spark a national movement. Before you go any further, comment where in the world you're watching from and make sure to subscribe, because the story you're about to hear isn't just about one woman. It's about all of us. Sunlight streamed through the high-rise windows as Lena stood, her blouse stained, her dignity unshaken, facing the very people who tried to break her. The room had quieted. No more laughter. Only the weight of what was coming next. The first drop hit her shoulder. Cold, sticky, sharp with the scent of caramel syrup. Oops, the voice mocked. Lena Carter didn't flinch. She just stood there, in her neat navy blouse, while the rest of the soda splashed across her curls and down her back. Laughter followed, cruel and sudden. "I thought you needed a little refreshment," said Victoria Hale, the regional marketing director, flipping her blonde hair and tossing the empty Coke can onto Lena's desk like it was trash. A snicker came from the other side of the room. "Look, everyone," chimed in Nate, the intern with too much confidence and too little decency. "Our diversity hire just got her baptism." He lifted his phone to film, proud of his cruel joke. Sheila was the only black analyst at Welton & Chase, a prestigious marketing firm in Midtown Manhattan. At 31, she had worked twice as hard to get half the respect. Since day one, the comments had been subtle. "Where'd you go to school again? You speak so well. You people are just so creative." But that Friday afternoon, as the office emptied early for Labor Day weekend, the masks came off. "You know what your problem is?" Victoria leaned in, her perfume thick in the air. "You don't know your place. You think you belong here because of some night school degree." That hurt. Not because it was true. It wasn't. But because Lena had spent a lifetime proving it wrong. She could feel the cola seeping into the papers she had spent the last 3 nights preparing. Reports, projections, her best work, drowned under soda and scorn. And yet, she didn't cry. She didn't shout. She reached for her phone with steady fingers. "Calling your boyfriend to pick you up?" Nate laughed. "Let me guess, Uber or bus?" Lena looked at them then, just looked, and something in her silence made even Victoria pause. "Tell me, have you ever watched someone hold back everything? Rage, pride, pain, just to protect their dignity? It's a powerful thing, isn't it? Sometimes the quietest moment is where the storm begins." 15 minutes. That's how long it took. Lena had typed only one message. No threats. No explanations. Just a location pin and the words, "now." The office had quieted. Victoria was still smirking, sipping from a reusable cup like nothing had happened. Nate had stopped filming but hovered near Lena's desk, hungry for more reaction. And then, the private elevator dinged. No one ever used that elevator. It was for board members only, executives whose names sat on plaques and whose decisions lived in headlines. The doors opened. First came 2 suited security guards, expressionless and crisp. Then a man stepped out. Tall, dark suit tailored to precision, eyes that had seen more than this room could ever imagine. Said only one word. "Lena." His voice filled the room, steady and low. It silenced even Victoria. She turned toward him, not with surprise, but with a quiet relief. "I'm okay," she said. Gasps spread like whispers through the room as recognition began to stir. That was Elliot Raines, founder and CEO of Raines Global, worth over $9 billion, 0 cents according to Forbes. He wasn't just rich, he was powerful. Private jet, presidential fundraiser, entire city blocks named after him. Powerful. And he had just walked into a mid-tier marketing firm asking if Lena Carter, his wife, was okay. Have you ever seen people realize they've made the worst mistake of their lives all at once? Victoria blinked. Wait, you're married to him? Lena nodded, gently pulling a tissue from her bag to wipe soda from her blouse. For 5 years. But why work here? Nate croaked, his confidence crumbling. You could be anywhere. I wanted to earn it, not inherit it, she said quietly. And I did. But now, it's time to finish this differently. A silence fell, thick and breathless, because the woman they thought was powerless had just flipped the entire room on its head. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one you've underestimated the longest. What would you do if the person you tried to destroy turned out to be the one writing your future? Security, Elliot Raines said, his tone like a cold blade. Remove them. 3 guards moved forward with silent precision. Nate stumbled backward, dropping his phone with a clatter that echoed in the stunned office. Samantha, the HR assistant who had laughed loudest, gasped, her fingers frozen mid-text. Victoria? She didn't move. Her confidence drained, but her pride refused to budge. Excuse me, she barked, trying to reclaim control. This is my office. No, Elliot replied calmly, stepping beside Lena. This is my company. Raines Global is the majority stakeholder in this firm. You're standing in my building. A hush swept through the room like wind through dry leaves. Then came Lena's voice, soft but unmistakably firm. I've documented everything, emails, messages, meetings. I sent copies to legal this morning. A second elevator opened. A man in gray emerged, briefcase in hand. Marcus Dell, lead attorney at Raines Global and Lena's longtime friend. We are filing for moral harassment, racial discrimination, and hostile workplace environment, he said, handing folders to each offender. Please do not attempt to delete or alter anything. We already have it all. Victoria's face turned chalk white. It was just office banter, she muttered. She never said she had a problem. Elliot leaned forward, holding up Nate's drop phone. Then what do you call this? He hit play. The video rolled. Nate's voice, unmistakable. I bet you live in the Bronx and took the subway here today. The room flinched. Pause. Have you ever been in a room when truth arrives like thunder and everyone realizes there's no more hiding? Samantha broke first. Please, I have bills, a child, my whole life. Lena looked at her, not with anger but clarity. So did I, when you laughed at me. When you let it happen. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. It walks in wearing a suit and says, enough. What would you do if every cruel word you ever said suddenly had a witness? Lena didn't leave right away. While security escorted Victoria, Nate, and Samantha out through the main doors, past stunned colleagues and ashamed silence, she walked back to her desk, calmly, purposefully. She opened her laptop, downloaded one last file, Project Athena, an advanced marketing analytics system. Hers. 6 months of solo development, hours after hours coding in silence, testing in the shadows. Its efficiency rate? 46.8% higher than anything on the market. Registered in her name, patented last week. And now? Sold! Raines Global had secured exclusive rights that very morning. Elliot stood beside her as she transferred the final documents. You sure you don't want to walk away from this mess? He asked. Lena shook her head. I don't want revenge, Elliot. I want roots, something that grows. He nodded. He knew her well enough not to argue. She turned to the small crowd gathered at the edges of the office, those who had stayed quiet, unsure, watching things fall apart. "For 6 months, I was your scapegoat," she said evenly. "But while you were laughing, I was building." Then she paused, let that land. "Tell me, have you ever realized you misjudged someone only after they revealed what they'd carried in silence?" A tall man in glasses stepped forward. Tom from IT. "Lena, your work has been brilliant. We saw it. You just stayed silent," she finished gently. "I know, but silence is its own kind of choice." She looked to Elliot. "I want the proceeds from Athena to fund something bigger. Scholarships for young black women in tech. Full rides. Full futures." He didn't hesitate. "We'll call it the Lena Carter Initiative. Initial fund, $50 million, 0 cents. She smiled, quietly. What they'd poured over her blouse that day wasn't just soda. It was the spark. The line crossed, and now it was becoming something none of them ever expected. How? Because what's more powerful than surviving injustice? Turning it into someone else's beginning. 6 months later, the building that once bore the name Welton and Chase had changed. Its glass doors now shimmered with new lettering. The Lena Carter Institute for Technological Equity. Inside, where Lena once walked unseen and underestimated, laughter echoed from classrooms. Young black women coded, built, and dreamed, each one fully funded by the scholarship her pain had birthed. That day, Lena stood at a podium in front of a packed auditorium, not to celebrate revenge, but renewal. Behind her, a screen displayed a global map dotted with tech companies. Microsoft, Google, even NASA, all now integrating Athena, the AI system she once built in silence. Its licensing fees poured straight into her foundation. Millions repurposed into opportunity. "Everything they did to break me," she said, "became the blueprint for building this." Then came the moment no one expected. Her father, Harold Carter, stepped up to join her, a retired transit worker with worn hands and a pressed suit. He carried a glass case. Inside gleamed the Nobel Peace Prize, awarded for innovation in social justice technology. He held it up, voice trembling. "They saw her skin," he said. "Now the world sees her mind." And the room rose in thunderous applause. But elsewhere, the past still echoed. Victoria had attempted a lawsuit. It failed, overwhelmed by evidence. Nate now worked food delivery. Samantha vanished from the city, her online presence erased. Tell me, what do we carry longer, our mistakes or the grace we refuse to show others? Lena didn't gloat, she never had. In her closing speech, she looked straight at the camera. They asked if this was revenge. It's not. Revenge burns. Justice builds. And then her phone buzzed, a message from a girl in Detroit. "Ms. Carter, I got in. I'm the first in my family to go to college. Thank you." Lena smiled. Because sometimes the most powerful revolution starts not with fury, but with someone who simply refuses to stay small. Life doesn't always repay kindness right away, but it always reveals truth in the end. Lena Carter's story reminds us that dignity is not weakness, and silence is not surrender. In a world that often rewards noise and power, she chose patience, grace, and quiet strength. And in doing so, she changed not just her story, but the path for others to follow. For many of us, especially as we get older, we've seen injustice. Maybe we've lived it. Maybe we've had to stay quiet, endure, or walk away. But Lena's journey is a gentle reminder that holding on to who we are, even in the face of cruelty, has value. The truth has a way of rising, sometimes slowly, sometimes with great cost, but always with purpose. Have you ever carried pain quietly and wondered if it mattered? It did. It still does. Because the things we build with grace, the bridges, the second chances, the scholarships of the heart, those are the things that outlast even the loudest injustice. Let Lena's story sit with you today, not just as a tale of revenge or victory, but as a testament to what happens when we choose justice over anger and legacy over pride. She stood alone in the quiet hallway of the institute that now bore her name. No cameras, no applause, just the low hum of computer labs where young minds were building their futures she once only dreamed of. Lena Carter didn't need a stage to feel strong. Her strength lived in the lives she helped lift, in the spaces she reclaimed with dignity, not noise. The office where they'd tried to silence her no longer existed, but its echoes had been transformed into scholarships, into jobs, into policies that ensured others wouldn't have to walk alone. Lena hadn't just survived racism, she had rewritten its impact. Because sometimes justice isn't loud, it's the quiet turning of a lock once closed. It's healing, shared. If this story stayed with you, share it. Subscribe to Echoes of Racism so these voices don't fade into silence. In the meantime, I've chosen 2 stories I think will move you just as much. Take care, and we'll see you soon.